The president showing symptoms. Many now want to know what happens if he becomes too sick to perform his presidential tasks. Our Maggie Smoka talked with a professor of politics at Juniata College to get some answers. Maggie joins us today here in the studio. So Maggie, right now he can still work while in isolation, right? But I guess the question would be, what if that changes?
Yeah, and Casey, this is a question that a lot of people have. And if President Trump's symptoms were to worsen, there is a plan in place, and it's been used several times. It's all explained under the 25th Amendment. Many in shock this morning, waking up to the news that President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania have the coronavirus. The president is 74 years old, so according to the CDC, his age puts him at a higher risk of developing a severe COVID-19 related illness. So what happens if he becomes incapacitated and can't perform his presidential duties? According to the 25th Amendment, the president can sign a letter handing his power to Vice President Mike Pence. When the president feels he's healthy enough to resume his duties, he'll sign another letter.
So it's just really a matter of exchanging letters if the president feels as though they're going to be incapacitated.
Have we seen this happen before?
We've had 3 occasions before. One is when President Reagan had some cancerous polyps removed from his colon. And so he was under the knife, or he was under anesthesia for about 8 hours. And then twice when George W. Bush had colonoscopies. In both cases, he signed over the duties of the presidency to the Vice President, Dick Cheney in this case. And he was out for about 2 hours each time.
So it doesn't, really matter the amount of time, whether it's, an hour or, 8 hours or 8 days, you are able to hand off those duties then.
That's correct.
And if for some reason the president isn't able to sign off on his duties, there's a plan for that as well.
In an emergency, Section 4 of the 25th Amendment allows members of the cabinet and the vice president and other officials to certify that the president is unable to perform the duties of office. And so then the vice president becomes president if they all agree with whoever is asking for it.
We do know Vice President Pence tested negative for COVID-19, but if something were to happen to him, the power would then fall to the Speaker of the House. And Barlow tells us right now it's too early to tell how this might affect the campaign, but he does think that the October 15th debate is going to be postponed or canceled completely. Live in the studio, I'm Maggie Smolka.